Well, hello everyone. I just thought I'd give a video here. May not be that long, but I'd like to share a story um, which I seem to get a lot of interest and requests for. This one relates to Eddie Van Halen, and it's pretty unique. And I got to tell you that during my career, I have the privilege of, or I had the privilege in my early days of seeing a lot of upcoming unsigned recording artists that just developed into just total professional stardom as either a band or a guitarist. Of course, you all know that during my era when I was younger, I got to see the likes of Randy Rhoads, Eddie Van Halen, George Lynch, Tracy G, just to name a few, and there are others that I've dealt with. Darren Malakian of System of a Down. All great people, all great human beings, and of course, fantastic musicians. But anyway, if you're a first-time viewer to my channel, welcome and thank you so much for tuning in. Please subscribe to this channel. I also have a Patreon channel, and periodically I will have links on all my social media that will direct you on how to subscribe to what I have to offer on all these different channels and basically social media. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me, I have a website, karlsandoval.com. You can get to me through my Facebook. Instagram shows a lot of cool pictures on guitar building techniques and some of the work that I've done through my past years. So, thank you so much. Appreciate it. I'm still concerned about whether or not I'm going to have a series of videos on how to build a Sandoval.v. If you're interested, please send me an email. I'm trying to get a count of how many people would be interested to see this. It won't be cheap. It's going to be expensive. It could be as much as $150 a month when you subscribe to my Patreon channel to see this iconic guitar being built. And I'm not going to do it for free, so you either accept it or you don't. If you don't, just move on. That's fine. Or don't get involved. But anyway, yeah, send me an email at karl@karlsandoval.com and let me know if you would be interested in that. And we'll see what happens. Okay, anyway, the story that I find, and I think about it often, as I'm working and my mind wanders. And back in the early days, back in the 70s, I was in a band called Smokehouse, as I've mentioned before on some of my other videos. I was the lead guitar player, just typical guitar player back in the day that would practice, and it was good and it was bad. It was bitter and it was sweet. But all in all, I had fun. And at that time, I was working, as you all know, at a company called Charvel Custom Guitars. I was working for Wayne, and so during this time is when I got my first experience in meeting Edward at the Charvel Custom Shop. It wasn't that long. It was a brief but memorable introduction, and but you got to remember, I was trying to be an upcoming guitar player, and paying my dues and all. And I was in this band called Smokehouse, like I said, and I was always hearing about this one guy named Eddie Van Halen. And it was almost like every time you get a group of guys together and they start talking about music, guitars, bands, rock, during that era, Eddie Van Halen's name would come up. The band's name, Van Halen, would come up. In my opinion, take it with a grain of salt, but You know, Van Halen was probably the top band of the era. They were professional way before their time. I felt they should have been signed so much earlier than when they were. But you know, that those are just my thoughts. But anyway, um, it was the band that I was in was called Smokehouse, and then my the bass player, not my bass player, but the bass player was my brother-in-law. His name, I'll just call him Tom, and him and I, we went to go see Van Halen. For me, it was my first time in Downey. I don't quite remember the name of the venue. I'm thinking uh, Golden West Ballroom. I could be wrong. I don't know. Don't quote me. Don't get mad at me. Whatever. You know, if you know, it was in Downey around that time in the '70s, and you know, bought our tickets, got in, and I remember, you know, it's like my mind is full of these vivid, uh, small videos, filming of what I saw. And I remember sitting on as you went into the entrance, we were on the right side up against the wall, close to the stage. And, you know, the anticipation of seeing this band was just like, okay, this is the guy that everybody's talking about. This is the band that's just like tops. Whoa, excuse me. Let's see what's going on. So, you know, they're all set up and everything. They were up on an elevated stage, and you know, you can see Ed's Marshalls and Alex's drum set, and David Lee Roth was there, and Mike Anthony. They get on stage, and the intro noise prior to the actual band performing was going on. You know, everybody doing their little sound check to make sure that they're able to hear their amps, feel their guitars. You know, all that goes on. You all know what it's about. You're all musicians, but you know, just hearing that noise was phenomenal because you know, in getting a volume set, Mike Anthony's playing riffs, David Lee Roth is talking. Alex is pounding on the drums, and we're talking about licks that are cool to hear, and you're just like, whoa, man, that sounds so cool. I was anyway, because, you know, please, I'm just speaking for myself here. And Ed starts doing his chops, and holy crap, man, this guy's tone was just unbelievable. His distortion was historical. His feel and small little intro licks to warm up and set things were just extremely rock pro, totally professional. The guy was amazing. Now you got to remember, this was when they had been around for a while. They had been together for a while, and they were like still a diamond in the rough. And they just needed to smooth out a few edges. And what I mean by that is, you know, when you get into the professional realm of rock and roll, you've got lighting, you've got, you know, professionalism up the yin-yang regarding everything that surrounds performing on stage. Although they did have a good sound system, and I remember Ed playing I don't believe it was an Explorer, although it could have been, but I'm thinking it was the Ibanez Destroyer. And I'm remembering that it was, now this is kind of way out there, it was either, I think it was all white, sort of a light color, you know, which it didn't look professionally painted, but I'll be darned, man. You know, when Ed would start playing, and this is like, I guess, pre-tremolo arm. So all the tricks, all the craziness, all the innovative concepts and ideas that Ed had in his mind and in his heart were done without the tremolo. So we're talking, I think the most impressive effect that he had was that fan picking. The way he would turn up his hand and just And to me, the guy was amazingly fast enough. He may not have been a shredder like we know shredders to this day, but back then, the amount of technique and abilities that Ed Van Halen had was phenomenal. Kicking, playing laid back. Uh, and when I literally mean that, he would lay back, and the guitar was at a perfect position, and he's doing all his hammer-ons, and the thing that everybody has gotten involved with, and you start combining his fan picking, his type of bluesy rock soloing with his hammer-ons and his slurs and his pulls and all the little tricks, in muting the string and getting octaves and high-pitched squeals. When you incorporate it into all at once in his style, in all the songs that he did, and most of all, we all know that it all came out, all this technique and professionalism and Eddie Van Halen came out during his solo eruption. Oh my goodness, did this guy floor me. I mean, of course the gig went by, real quick because I was just focused on his abilities and his fantastic means of performing. And now we're talking about a guy that he just didn't stand there and play. This guy was pretty much all over his side of the stage or center stage, doing what he does best, and that's playing like Eddie Van Halen. And it just floored me. I mean, Jamie's Crying, Eruption, I think Atomic Punk, and so on and so on. All these different songs would come, and the way they presented themselves as a band, the minute they started, I mean, the initial, like I say, the sound check and getting your sound levels together and, making sure everything's cool. Then, boom, it was like an atomic explosion. And here comes Van Halen roaring down like a steaming locomotive, song after song after song. And they didn't stop and just kind of look at each other and fumble around. No, they just professionally knew how to transform from one song to the next. David Lee Roth, an expert frontman, Alex in the background giving the percussion and the beat with Mike Anthony doing his, bass runs. The guy was like totally phenomenal. I mean, Eddie Van Halen, Alex Van Halen, David Lee Roth, Mike Anthony. That is Van Halen. That is the band. And, I appreciate the other people joining later on, but, that was later. I'm not talking about them right now. And they did very well, of course. But my forte and what I really loved was the original and early Van Halen. And of course, I'm not putting down, changes having to be made throughout their career, but, things evolve. Things move on. People come and go. And that's just the way it is. And but this video is about Eddie Van Halen. I wanted to really focus on, his style of playing, the way he moved, the way he held the guitar, the way he would solo, the way he would perform was just extremely top-notch professional. And it was such a joy to see this, in my early years. And it's a memory that I'll never forget. And, and I'm not alone in the early days of seeing Van Halen. Obviously, there were many other people who got to visualize and see this phenomenon of rock history. I just find it in my heart as something extremely special because I was able to build guitars and I was more on that aspect of the guitar trade, period. And it's just a memory that I'll never forget. But I just wanted to share that with you. Some of you may have been at that gig. Some of you may have seen them in Pasadena. Of course, I got to play second, third bill, opening bill, ending night, whatever, with my band, not my band, the band Smokehouse that I was in. And we got to see them at the Pasadena Civic explode with rock history. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you so much. Y'all have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.